The Moorish Science Temple of America, Divine Constitution and Bylaws, Salvation, Allah, Unity. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make laws and enforce laws with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No members is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and partial of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and partial of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and partial of all uplifting acts in the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, home office of Noble Drew Ali, home office, Chicago, Illinois, U.S.A. Islam Muslims.
All right, Islam, gratitude.
Islam.
Brother Kobe, would you please read our writs?
Islam, Grand Sheikh. Arise and give perfect praise to our great God Allah. Rise, give honor to our prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Rise, give honor to the forerunner, Marcus Messiah Garvey, the harbinger. Rise, give honor to all Muslims on the call and all Muslims on the planet. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam, this is instruction from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful to your forefather divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now. But the weak can comprehend it not. The end of times are drawing near. So says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that is why many hearts have turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear. At least they'll be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving. And they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, and on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards to Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans. They do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace, Noble Drew Ali. To be proclaimed in every meeting, Islam. I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respects to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world would not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islamism.
All right, Islam, brother, gratitude. Sister Lachey L, would you please read our additional laws?
Islam. All right, so give all praise to the great Father God Allah, honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, honors to all Muslims around the world. Questionnaire and additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Act 1. Grand sheikhs and governors and heads of all temple, all business. Each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali before acting upon by any members, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the members to sacrifice finance, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under a heavy restriction, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Act 2. All members are to attend their EDUP meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second, he will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3. It is the lawful and divine duty of every good member if he is able in finance to aid me in saving the nation. And if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I will have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4. All members, while up making a public speech, must not use any assertion against an American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5. All members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must conform himself to the questionnaire, and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out of your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and mind pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God, Allah. Islam Muslims. Happy Sunday.
Islam and gratitude, sister. A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and the principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state of mind to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law abiders and receive their divine rights as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There's but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know the law in the city hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver, and commerce belong to to the citizens alone, and without your national citizenship by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling on all true citizens to stand for a free national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I am depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate, and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national Constitution of the United States of America. I love my people and I desire their unity and mine back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizens of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and South in unit, placing the Southerners who were at that time without power with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there's no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do herein believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with the divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin, which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way. And without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there's not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon the civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth, and they fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I'm hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet. All right, Islam. Okay, and you heard the prophet right there in the divine warning. He said it's because of us. So we're gonna talk about that. All right. As you know, when you think about it, you know, the mind state that the majority of our people are in, like the program that most of our people are going off of, they wouldn't be able to hear that message, right? Where he's saying he traveled through the South, okay? And I have examined the conditions there. And it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. Okay, and so it's easy for people here now in 2022 to say, what are you talking about? You know, we ADOS, we descendants of slaves. You know, we victims. What are you talking about? Right? We victims of racism. What are you talking about? Let me show you something. Got like 6 or 7 books about white slavery, about Europeans being sold into slavery by dark-skinned Moors. Not just slavery, but heinous things being done to Europeans by Moors who were in power. And when they were in power, they were abusing their position. And I'm not just throwing that out there just to say something. Let's see if I can give some examples. Okay, we have, I'm not gonna go too much because this stuff is real wordy, but we have one example, which I'll just paraphrase it. It's from this book called Morocco and the Moors by Arthur Leonard, or Arthur Leard. Okay, and he there's a quote from the book. It says, it is alleged with much truth that Moorish law left to itself to always take the side of the Moor, whether rightly or wrongly. Okay, that's kind of what we see now, right? Law's always on someone's side, even if it's wrong. And there's another quote in there. Basically, the author, he's given the first-hand of account of a British merchant. And he said, in this country, whenever a dispute arises between a Moor and a British subject, the latter usually goes to the wall. Moreover, the Moorish government seems to repress all action and enterprises on the part of British traders with the sanction of their own government. It is the custom of these men, when involved in legal difficulties, to apply to their own governors, if it suits them to do so, right? So they have their own corruption going on. If on the other hand, they think it is more to their interest, they claim their rights in the consular courts. Thus, often to the disadvantage of the European traders, they enjoy the protection of 2 governments. All right, and like I said, I'm not gonna read the rest, but it goes on and on and on and on. And then you have several instances where you have these governors, these beys, right, sultans, and they are literally just charging tribute to the different European nations. And then their subjects are going out and robbing them, right? Selling them into slavery, and then charging them a ransom to get their citizens back out. So there's a lot of stuff that's blacked out of history. It's not taught because the European doesn't like to present himself as a weak, pitiful person. They don't like to present themselves as victims. They don't want to do that. But they'll make 1,000 slave movies. It might as well be Slave History Month, right? Because it's Black History Month. What does it start at? Slavery, right? So somebody's giving you a portion, just a little portion of history. And they want you to be in that victim mindset. The prophet X that out. So I just wanted to reiterate that. That's why he says, he's like, and when he says he traveled through the South and examined conditions there, come on. He was born in 1886. He was born in this time where you have Jim Crow laws, where it's heavy restriction on people that look like us, where people are getting lynched, literally. And he's saying he traveled through the South, have examined conditions there, and it is the works of who? My people, continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives a life. So what brings dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives a life? That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go over questions 30 through 40. But what brings dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life? What is it? I saw a meme that said black folks nosy about everything. Except when it comes to studying their own history. Right? They're looking at all types of stuff, but they won't even look into their own history. So we're gonna discuss this. What is it that brings dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation? All right. What is it? We're gonna talk about that. It goes right in alignment with the questions that we're on today. So everything's in divine order. All right, Morris, and let's go ahead and go into our questionnaire. Going over questions 30 through 40. All right. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and read these out. And whether you're able to read them out loud, you can read it out loud with me, or read it out loud, or just read it in your head, but read these with me, okay? And then we're gonna talk about it because we don't wanna just memorize it. All right, question 30. What was the nationality of Ruth? Ruth was a Moabitess. What is the modern name for the Moabites? Moroccans. Okay, and whether you're reading this out loud or reading it in your head, read it with us, all right? Where is the Moroccan Empire? Didn't we just talk about this Friday? Where is the Moroccan Empire? Northwest Amexem. What is the modern name for Amexem? Africa. What is the title given to our ruler in Morocco? Sultan. Okay. Where do we get the name Jesus? From the East. What does the name Jesus mean? Jesus means justice. 37. Did the angel give to the child that was called Jesus a holy name? Yes, but it cannot be used by those who are slaves to sin. Okay, and what is an angel? An angel is a thought of Allah manifested in human flesh. Okay, what are the angels used for? To carry messages to the four corners of the world, to all nations. What is our prophet to us? He is an angel of Allah, sent to bring us the everlasting gospel of Allah, Islam. All right, and let's go back up here. So 30, what was the nationality of Ruth? All right, and that's already established. Ruth was a Moabitess. Okay, no question about that. With the prophet reestablishing our link, right? He's trying to undo what's been done, right? Because he said it's the works of my people, continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. We're not honoring our divine covenant, right? We're not honoring our forefathers and foremothers. So he's reestablishing the link with our forefathers and foremothers. Ruth was a Moabitess. Okay. And by doing this, this is linking us back into our divine heritage, right? The line that came through Ruth. You have the prophet David, King David, right? The prophet Jesus, right? So these are just some of the ancestors that came through her, right? Ruth is from the land of Moab. We were just looking at that also Friday. When you look at Moab, what do you see over there? What were the Moabites building over there? What did they leave behind? Right? Greatness. So this is being returned to us. When you look at just the Moabites that were in Jordan, actually over there across the Atlantic in Jordan, and just looking at the ruins that's just left behind, right? Cathedrals, temples built out of solid stone, right? Built into mountains. Amazing, right? So this is the link. It's been reconnected, and still to this day, it's not really understood how they did this or why they did this. Okay? But this link is being reestablished and brought back to us. And then also, okay, another thing, when we look at this, the prophet in question 21, it says, how old is our flag? It is over 10,000 years old, right? We see the ruins that are over on the other side of the Atlantic, but then there's also temples over here. And just wanted to share this with you. Now, this is a meme, right? So take it with a grain of salt. But you see that pentagram, right? And guess who did it? The Olmecs or the Mayans. And then they're saying it's 5-point stars from Campeche, Mexico, 600 to 800. I'm assuming this is BC. So this is thousands of years ago, found over here. But people will tell you once again, that has nothing to do with you. And then when you go to that area, Campeche, Mexico, what do you see? Right? We saw what you find in Jordan when you go to the land of our ancestors, right? The land of the Moabites. What happens when you go over there? When you go to Campeche, Mexico, what do you see? Temples, pyramids. And then it's so old now that the jungle's taking it over. There's pyramids everywhere, as it says in the New York Times. In Campeche, pyramids are everywhere. But they're covered up by the jungle. They're so old. Okay? And they don't really know how they did it. All right, so just showing that. And then the flag was found here, carved in stone. Okay? I mean, look, this is what the prophet is reestablishing, linking us back to. Let's go back in here. Okay, and so just looking at that, what is the modern name for the Moabites? Moroccans. Okay, so we're being relinked to people who were, even back then, who were highly civilized. We had kingdoms, legit, real people, right? It's not just some mythological thing. And then it's known that the Moabites were dark-skinned, what they call woolly-haired people, full lips, okay? Different shades of brown, but or olive tone people, okay? There's no, really no confusion about that. But the prophet is relinking us back into these ancient people because we are who our forefathers were. Nobody can change that, right? No one, unless their powers extend beyond who? The great God, Allah. Okay, if we look in chapter 47 of our Quran, chapter 47, Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa. It says, what your ancient forefathers were, you are today without doubt or contradiction. Okay? So if the prophet is saying that our ancestors were the Moabites, the modern name today is Moroccan. Our ancestors were the Moabites, right? That's why we're Moorish American, because we're the descendants of the ancient Moabites. We're the descendants of Moroccans and born in America, but that's the modern name for the ancient Moabites. So we are what our ancient forefathers were without what? Without doubt or contradiction. Okay, and there is no one who is able to change man from the descendant nature of his forefathers unless his powers extend beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. That's so simple. If people ask him, why are you saying you're not Black or African American? Look, it doesn't matter what modern name you come up with or what anyone else came up with. It doesn't matter what the nickname is. It doesn't matter. Okay, there's no one who's able to change man from the what? The descendant nature of his forefathers, unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. So, you know, you can't put those names on me. No one can. Right? You don't have the power. No one does. So you are relinked in with your ancient forefathers. And this is why the prophet said that he traveled through the South. And you thinking he's going to be like, oh man, the white man ain't so hard on us, man. He messing us up out here. It's like, nah, I've traveled through the South, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. So bringing dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life means what? It means not honoring your forefathers and your foremothers. Let's go to chapter 48, the end of time and the fulfilling of the prophecies. Right there in verse 9, it says, the covenant of the great God Allah, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be longer upon the earth land, which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee. That's simple. Right? That's the covenant. Honor thy father. Isn't that easy? That's the covenant. It's so easy. So all you have to do is to honor your father and your mother, your forefathers, foremothers, and your days may be longer upon the earth land which the Lord thy God Allah hath given thee. Islam, I yield the floor, sister.
Islam, first and foremost, I'd like to rise and give perfect praise to our Father God Allah. I like to rise and give honors to his prophet, Noble Ali, and all of Allah's prophets. I like to rise and give honors to all you Muslims in attendance and everything more. That made me think to go back to our divine constitutional bylaws, because the prophet gave us our divine covenant. If you go back to Acts 7 at the end, it says, after reading all the Acts, right? It always talks about love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, right? Our 5 principles, right? So the prophet is reminding us what our divine covenant actually is. Because at the end of Acts 7, it says, this divine covenant is from your holy prophet, right? So that right there just made me think about how he definitely brought us back under the fold. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam, yes, and I'm glad you brought that up. And even with this, like, okay, all right, honoring thy thy fathers and thy mothers, right? We're honoring our forefathers, okay, but also we have law, okay, but abiding by these laws is not difficult. It's not like he's asking you to do something that's nasty, something that's horrible, something that's against your nature. Okay? No, it's not difficult. And then it's not like there's thousands and thousands of laws. You know, some some of these, I guess you could say religions, I don't know what you would call it, but some of these different groups, they have like all of these different rituals you have to do. You know, you have to do this, this, and that. You have to do that. They have like all of these things. It's like, how can you memorize all this? How can you do all this, right? It's not even in your nature. This is within your nature. It's not even difficult, right? To come into the divine covenant. And when you do this, your success is guaranteed. It's guaranteed. And so it's not hard. It's not difficult. It's easy. And that reminds me of this movie. I've probably spoken about this before from the 80s. Some of y'all too young to know about this, but the never-ending story, right? You had the never-ending story. You had the hero, Atreyu. He's going through all these battles. His horse dies. He's just, it's terrible. And the princess, like he gets angry when he's talking to this princess that he's supposed to be saving, the childlike empress, and she tells him that all she needed was a name. She needed a human boy to name her, right? And he's like, that's it? That's it? Their whole world's being destroyed. All she needed was the boy to give her a name, okay? And it was that easy. The whole time, it was that easy. And that's what the prophet returned to us. It's that easy, okay? Yes, we have to return to our own. That's it. We return to our own, and everything will work out naturally. Now, from a practical perspective, you know, just looking at, again, at chapter 48, therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation, while we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was prepared by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. You know, from a practical perspective, yeah, I see how that works. I see how that changes our mind state. That gets us, you know, working for ourselves, for our betterment, instead of being under a system that for the last 200, 300 years has been working against us, right? It's kept us subservient. It ain't working for us. I don't know why so many of us don't realize this, but it ain't working, right? You know? So yeah, from a practical perspective, we see how it works, but it's that simple. We just have to return to our own. All right? Honor our forefathers and foremothers. We can't honor them if we are getting like different color contacts. I want to get blue contacts, not because you just want to look different, because you want to look like somebody else that you're not, right? Getting blonde hair, you know, doing all of this extra stuff. Right? We're not honoring our forefathers and foremothers if we're doing this stuff and it's working to our detriment. So this is why the prophet said once again that it was the works of his people. He traveled through the South in Jim Crow days. It's the works of his people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. How dare our people try to play the victim, and you have people here with no shame walking around with, you know, like a disguise on. Like you literally have people walking around like in disguise, you know? So that's enough about that. But just saying, like, come on, how dare you? You're not a victim. You're not. And so it's that simple. All we have to do is return to our own. Let's go back in here. You know, and that's why people will patronize us. If we want to be ADOS, we want to be descendants of slaves, they'll patronize us. If we want to be victims and Black Lives Matter and all this, they'll patronize us because it ain't working. It's keeping us subservient, weak, pitiful, and getting slaughtered. And they're cool with that because they're not really your friends. The ones who are cool with it, they're not trying to help you. Okay, so what is the modern name of the Moabites? Moroccans. We must recognize this, right? And know that, yes, what your ancient forefathers were, you are today without doubt or contradiction. So that's what we are. Yeah, we're Moroccans, right? Where's the Moroccan Empire? Northwest of Mexum. Okay, we spoke about that just Friday. That's in here. I mean, the connection is in here clearly. And the prophet even put that in this questionnaire where, it's undeniable. Okay, we're talking about right here where we're at, right here. This is northwest of Mexico. And I don't see how anybody can miss that. Okay, so we know the first true and divine name of Africa was a Mexum. All right. We also hang on, Morris. We also know in key 86. Well, actually, let's go to key 85, where it says name some of the marks. Let me move this. Name some of the marks put upon the Moors of what? Of Northwest. Northwest what? It doesn't even have to be said. Northwest of Mexico. Name some of the marks that were put upon the Moors of Northwest. We're the Moors of Northwest by the European nations in 1774. So I know we talked about this Friday, but I'll just say it again. So it's saying, name some of the marks that were put upon the Moors of Northwest by the European nations in 1774. Now, if we go to a map like we did on Friday of Northwest Africa, talking about the continent of Africa, we know that's going to show Mauritania. It's going to show Morocco, Algiers, Libya. Okay, it's going to show these nations that are in Northwest Africa. But we know that question 85 is not talking about Northwest Africa because these people didn't get labeled Negro, Black, colored, and Ethiopian. That didn't happen. Okay. Now, I'm not saying, because I've seen some books where they refer to all so-called African people as Negroes. I've seen that before. So I'm not trying to act like, nobody ever got called these things. I'm just saying they have their own nations. They know who they are. We got those marks put upon us, right? And then, a mark, that's somebody that you're taking advantage of. That's, what a criminal is taking advantage of. They call people marks. People that's out here, they're always trying to get over on someone, right? So that's what they did. So this is, without doubt, this is talking about the Moors of Northwest of Mexum, and we're in Northwest of Mexum. It's not talking about Mauritania. It's talking about the ones that got those marks, Negro, Black, colored, and Ethiopian. Okay, and that's pretty much, that's like extremely obvious. Okay, but we'll keep it moving. Actually, if you go to key 32, also, since we're talking about that, where it says Moors of Northwest, you go to key 32, what does it say? Key 32 says, where's the Moroccan Empire? Northwest of Mexum. Now, obviously, since we know of Mexum's Africa, Northwest Africa. Yeah, where's the modern name for Mexum? Africa. So, that would seem simple. Like, okay, yeah, you're talking about Northwest Africa. Yeah, I know that was where the Moroccan Empire was. But we know also that he's talking about us because we got marked with those names. All right. So this is who we were, and this is who we are today. Okay. So hopefully that's clear. All right. So going back in there, where's the Moroccan Empire? Northwest of Mexum. What is the modern name for Mexum? Africa. Okay. So since this is Northwest of Mexum, this is Northwest Africa from our perspective. Okay, that's an uncommon way of viewing things. Might sound crazy if you're going around running your mouth. You might not want to run your mouth about that to everybody because they're not going to understand and you don't have time to explain it to everyone, but you know it. And that's really all that matters because everybody else that has their own nation and their own culture, they have things that they know about themselves that maybe nobody else does, right? And it's about time we do too. So we know our true history, just like everybody else. Islam, and that's also, it's important that the prophet returned that to us. We needed it because somebody's been lying, right? They got us thinking that we started as slavery. Right. Okay, and then moving on, where do we get the name Jesus? From the East. Jesus, that's the Greek form of Yeshua. And Yeshua means literally Jehovah or Jehovah, Yahweh. It means Jehovah or Yahweh saves. Okay, Yeshua. So like literally, it means salvation. In this order. Jehovah or Yahweh saves. Question 36. What does the name Jesus mean? Jesus means justice. Also, okay, the Latin word for justice is Justus, right? This is how justice sounds phonetically. But when you translate that into Hebrew, it's Joshua, which is Jesus. Yeshua is Joshua. They're the same name. All right, so it literally is the same thing. It means, like I said before, Yahweh saves, Jehovah saves. All right, which is justice. That's the first principle. It's one of Allah's divine attributes. 37. Hang on. Did the angel give to the child that was called Jesus a holy name? Yes, but it cannot be used by those who are slaves to sin. All right. Anybody have any questions about that? Like what's that really saying? All right. Okay, so it's saying it can't be used by those who are slaves to sin. So if we look up the word use, right, in the Webster's dictionary, just looking up the definition for the word use, that means to put into service or action. Okay, so this name, right, is saying that Jesus had a holy name, but it can't be put into service or action by anyone. And who are those who are slaves to sin? Anyone who's not in control of their lower self, who's dominated by the lower self, the carnal mind, especially those of us who aren't even aware of this, aren't even working to subdue the lower self, right? So if our higher self isn't being checked, you know, it's not checking, excuse me, our negative thoughts that's coming, that's not really working for our betterment, that's just coming from the carnal mind, right? You're not able to put into service or action these holy names, right? Because they all carry power. Everything has a vibration. Islam, I see you, Brother Kobe.
Islam, like I always say, the best way to look at it is your lower self is a great servant, but a terrible master, because of the fact you always have to check it because it's just cardinal desire. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam. Right on. All right. And going to question 38. What is an angel? An angel is a thought of Allah manifested in human flesh. Okay. And this is taking all of the spookism out of, you know, the everything that's spoken about in the Quran, right? It's you know, it's making it simple and plain for us to understand like what's really going on. So we're talking about people delivering messages. And it's talking about when you go to question 39, what are angels used for? To carry messages to the four corners of the world, to all nations. So we're literally talking about people coming to deliver the divine message. All right. And in all honesty, when you look at it from this perspective, 40 says, what is our prophet to us? He's an angel of Allah who's sent to bring us the everlasting gospel of Allah, right? He's bringing us the divine message, right? It's 41. What is the everlasting gospel? It's the saving power that comes from Allah through our ancient father by his prophet. And this everlasting gospel, for us, the divine instructions that we receive, they're not really hard to carry out, but it guarantees your salvation, right? So it's delivering this message that has within it our salvation, okay? The duty of a prophet is to save nations from the wrath of Allah. All right, so that's really like, that's the main difference between the angel and the prophet, right? The prophet's bringing the, or he's bringing the message to save the nations from the wrath of Allah, right? Whereas here, it's just saying that angels, right? They're carrying messages to the four corners of the world, period. They're just bringing the message. All of us are angels. In all honesty, if you come in and you study and you're spreading the gospel, you're a missionary, right? We're all to be missionaries to spread the truth brought by the great prophet of Ali here in America. Okay? Ultimately, that's what we're all to do. So, you know, looking at it from this perspective, we're all angels because, you know, we're all thoughts of Allah manifested in human flesh. All right? So the only thing we really have to do, that's why the message that's in our Quran also contains tools and keys that we can use to subdue our lower self so that we won't be slaves to sin. Right? Because ultimately, you want to raise your thoughts to divine wisdom. All right? So that we can all be trusted with holy names and anything that allows you to call forth these latent powers that we all have access to. Okay? So we don't even truly understand the power that we have. And that's why we had the measures in there to subdue our lower self. And that's the portion that, you know, probably most people find boring, working on yourself, subduing your lower self. It's because you don't even know the power that you have. I'm not saying you, but just saying in general, we don't even know the power that we have, that we're working with. And it's all about working on yourself. It's not pointing the finger at anyone else. And that's why I was talking about that Never Ending Story movie, because you go through this whole movie where all this stuff is happening and then find out at the end, all the boy had to do was get a girl, the empress, a name, and everything was stopped, right? And that's pretty much how this is. Okay, when you really find out what we have to do, it's not that hard. It's not the end of the world, you know? Yeah, take care of your children, you know? Don't abandon your children. Don't be out here beating on women. Don't be out here getting drunk and committing crimes. Like, come on, man. If that's hard for you, well, you need to be out here suffering. Okay? Because, like, look, in all honesty, we have to clean ourselves up. We have to have higher principles, right? And just from a logical perspective, that's how whatever we do will succeed, because now we're doing it from our higher self. Okay, and so that is why, just returning to the divine warning, that's why the prophet would in the 20s, right, or the early 1900s, say that I traveled in the South and have examined conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring. Remember this: dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives a life. And just to finish that, he said, I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light, from the prophet. And this is making a general plea, like, hey, if you're a true American, assist us. You can't even be against us. We're about uplifting. We're not doing anything wrong. There's nothing anyone can say about what we're doing. They can't attack it, right? And that's how you know also that this mission is divine. There's nothing in here that's attacking anyone else or saying anything that's wrong. You know, it's all logical. It's all truth. Okay, and on that measure, though, I yield the floor. Does anyone have any questions? If you have questions in general or about this questionnaire, feel free to raise your hand or to speak up now. And on that note, I yield the floor. Islam. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, I want to announce without further ado, we're going into the closing of the meeting. I did just want to remind everybody to go to our website. I'm going to put the link in here. It's MorishAmericans.com. You can make a free profile on there, and we'll be using that more in the future. So, you know, whether you're a member or not, I just, you're open to make a profile on there, just extending that invite. And then that's it. That's all we have to announce. We're going to go ahead and close. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We ask that everyone who is able to please rise and face the east as we do the the closing prayer. You don't need to repeat after me. So we stand facing the east, heels together, holding up 2 fingers on the right, 5 on the left. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers, divine creed and principles. We ask this in our holy name and the 7 Elohim. Amen. Islam. All right. This meeting is now adjourned. Peace and love, Morris.
Islam.
Islam, peace and love.
Peace.